Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about Wendell and Wild. This is the first and latest Henry Selick film. It's the first since Coraline, unfortunately. And this time he's collaborated with Jordan Peele, who helped write the screenplay with him, and is also starring in this with Keegan-Michael Key. I think a lot of people are sort of mixed on this, and I get it. It's a very convoluted film. There's a lot going on, and even if you can appreciate the animation, I think most people would say the script is a little too dense, a little too much going on, but I still enjoyed it and what it was saying about, I'd say, both loss and even, private prisons and stuff, and how the real enemies to a community. I would say the possibilities of new businesses and dark possibilities of something of what a prison, or a private prison specifically, does to a community, or at the same time you're dealing with a protagonist who is trying to grow up and understand herself through a childhood that didn't really have any room for her. This film is a very kind of bleak worldview kind of film. I don't think, as much as Nightmare Before Christmas is a all-audience film, it seems like this and Coraline are more for older kids, I would say specifically. I don't think this is for the younger ones at all. Not that he should do that, and I don't think he should. I like that he makes films like this. But this one, there's some darker elements. There's the main character, Kat, is a hell maiden. All sorts of fun, like, baby's first goth sort of thing type of movie that this is. I don't know, despite all of what was going on in it, first, it has so many things to like about it. It's sort of hard to just disregard it. But I think also what it is ultimately saying about private prisons and growing up and all the various other things it tries to do, which is a lot. There's probably a few I forgot. It somehow works. And I think that says a lot about Henry Selick and Jordan Peele as storytellers, as well as Clay McLeod Chapman, as this is based on an unpublished book that Clay McLeod Chapman and Henry Selick were going to do or something. Not sure, but Jordan Peele helped write and produce this. And also I think that's pretty cool that Jordan Peele actually, this is a filmmaker, especially a filmmaker who has had an amazing filmography for a stop motion filmmaker, but probably hasn't had as many opportunities as I think we all think he should have, and especially since Disney sort of decided to just sort of throw him away for no reason, or not develop the film he was developing. I'm glad Jordan Peele took him out of that development hell and got him to make something cool like this. Wendell and Wild isn't, even though they are the titular characters, it's about Kat, whose parents died when she was young in a car accident that she blames herself for, feels responsible for, leaves the town of Rustbank, where her parents had a brewery. There was a brewery fire, and this evil corporation comes in and basically buys up everything, takes over the entire town while her parents are gone, and in her absence, then she finally comes back as sort of a teenager and discovers that she is a hell maiden through finding this bear that belongs to a nun or something, and then she finds her two demons, who are Wendell and Wild, who can bring people back from the dead. She wants them to bring her parents back, but then the priest who runs see, this is why it's so complicated, by the way, who runs the school she goes to, wants the evil corporation, who are two parents, bring back the dead people on the council so that they can vote for them and get their private prison. There is too much going on in this, and it does feel like they're trying to accomplish a lot in ways that I both really like. There's a whole punk element to this, and not just punk music, but specifically black punk music. You have Fishbone on here, Bad Brains, Living Color, Cult of Personality. My dad used to listen to, I don't know when that first album, I think it was 5 or something. I've always sort of dug those guys, so it's fun to re-listening to the first album. I mean, when do you ever hear Cult of Personality? The Specials, I think that was actually really cool. It has a really great soundtrack going on throughout it. I really like that, even though it does have a score and stuff like that, but all the punk music going on throughout it was cool. I never hear Living Color in a movie. I never hear Fishbone in a movie that much, so it's kind of cool to have them in this. And I like all the voice performances, and I like the Key and Peele in here. It seems like they're only doing animated stuff now. This in Toy Story 4 is when they reunite, but I think that's pretty cool. And I really like what it's trying to say about private prisons, but it's just like doing all that and then explaining the Hell Maiden thing and then explaining, you know, where Wendell and Wild came from. And also they want to make their own amusement park, and also the private prison thing and what's happened to the family. And she has a friend, Raul, who's doing a mural, who, you know, that comes back. Raul, I will say, like, her sidekick in this, Raul, is a trans boy, which is never really brought, like, you could honestly not even know that. But it is there, I believe. Maybe there was a line that I missed, which is totally possible. But there's a lot. And I wish it had kind of sacrificed something, and I'm not saying I know what, but for a sense of clarity to it. Because in here, I think there is a good movie. I think there is an interesting film. And particularly like the idea of like their main bad guys are real life bad guys. Like private prisons are pretty evil. The companies that run them are pretty horrible. They say all the things that you'd expect them to say about those things, and they're doing it in a kid's film. And specifically, you know, this is a largely black cast and stuff, like how private prisons have, you know, decimated the black community, taken over small communities just like Rust Bank. Like, that was very real, actually. Like, it's like fantastical, and like all the designs of Henry Selick and stuff were in this. Like, that is... a lot of what they said is not like a fantasy. Like that is a real thing, and it's going on right now, and it's horrible. And the corporations that run those things are, you know, I would say pretty moralist. So it makes total sense that they would be the bad guys. In an animated film like this, it makes total sense. I actually thought that was actually really smart, and an interesting bit of social commentary. And not saying that because I politically agree with it. I'm saying it because I think it's very smart. Also, Ving Rhames, Angela Bassett is really good, as well as Lyric Ross, who you know probably from This Is Us, is great as Kat. Henry Selick's animation is absolutely gorgeous. Watching those characters move, he has a sense of surrealism. He has a real sense of design. It feels like they poured over each very little detail in his own kind of surreal, dark, gothic kind of style. Seeing that done in this way is interesting because I do think there was a real sense of this world and what this was, what it used to be and what it is now, which is the other thing. I don't want to just go like, whatever, it was a mixed bag, I don't know, because like there was a real sense to this. Like it I don't know, it felt like they maybe should have really nailed down the script better. I just like that there's elements that sort of, like, I will say the whole Hell Maiden thing and having Wendell and Wild's father and the fairgrounds and this and that and that, and it's like, yeah, but there's like so many really cool things that I'm definitely going to remember and I really liked, and I'm glad Henry Selick got to do. And then I look at this and I'm just disappointed how, you know, I think at the end, like, they're wrapping things up like crazy. There was like a clearly 80-yard line, Keegan-Michael Key said, for one element of it, and but at the same time, like, all the corpses like closing door, there's a scene where they're closing doors, this is no spoiler, with a tracking shot that was like absolutely amazing. I do like in most Henry Selick, and I think most stop motion films, there's always a shot somewhere of just like a room, and I'm like, look, it probably took forever to get to the room to shoot this, so I'm glad there's a room where just the camera goes, whoop, that's the room. They're like, yes, got a shot done today. You know, look, those frames take a while. The end credits, which I think is now a tradition with stop motion films, I'm curious, did Leica start that, I think, of like the sped up time lapse thing with showing how long it takes to make these things. As boring as it sounds, those things are, I still like it. I don't care. I don't want to throw this movie away. I think there's a lot of promise in it. I think there's a lot of interesting ideas. It just kind of has too many. And I wish that, I think in some ways, like, Jordan Peele and Henry Selick worked very well together, but in other ways, like, their sensibilities made this monster at the same time. Like, it's like the best of it is definitely things, like, I can tell the private prison thing is probably from Jordan Peele. I don't remember James the Giant Peach being that political, but it just is so maximal in what it's doing, including with all the plot. And there's sometimes that stuff can work, and I'm not against it because it's maximal. I'm more not into it because it just had too many plot lines. So I still think this is worth a watch. I would watch this again. I think it is actually a good movie. I think it works within all its convolutions and things like that. And it's great soundtrack. And getting me to listen to Living Color again, and I'm thinking about listening to Bad Brains again as well, which is fucking awesome. Like, I love that about this, you know. I don't know if anyone else will, but it got me to, and I feel good about that. But you know, I know we all probably, or still, because, you know, it's Nightmare Before Christmas time, from before Halloween till after Christmas, I guess. But I think this is a real interesting part of his filmography. I like that Jordan Peele meshed with his style. Sometimes you have directors mesh with their style, like, oh, this is almost too much. And I think that is true. And the too much of it makes it mixed. But I think if you are able to find the interesting stuff in this, and it has such potent, interesting ideas and the great soundtrack and all those things and the great performances, to me it's like this is a cool movie. You know, it's not Henry Selick's best film, but to be honest, like, we know what 1 and 2 are, and those are pretty high, big classics, you know. So it's like that's an impossible, even though it's like 4 movies, we know that it's, you know, Coraline and Never Before Christmas, but I still think this is still a good movie. I don't think it's a solid film. It's a messy one that needed to trim itself up, but there's just too much promise for me to just sort of go whatever, mixed bag. I think there's enough interesting ideas that if someone put it on, I would still like love certain parts of it and love the ideas behind it and love what it's trying to do and push forward with the animated film. And I think Wendell and Wild, and also, like, you know, you get Key and Peele again. Come on, you know, it's just, you get Key and Peele and Bad Brains. Like, what is, I don't understand. Is there more that I'm like, that sounds like great to me? I don't fucking know. Like, I don't like, it's just like there's so many cool things in this, but I know there's got too many things, but I really like the cool things, and I'm still thinking about them, and I like some of the animation, and I like, you know, her with the glowing hand, and I like all that stuff, and I think it's really compelling, and I think some great filmmakers made that, but I know it's too complicated. It may have kind of, you know, sort of found a way to get into my heart somehow and get me as a viewer to side with it and like it, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's the most solid film. I'm just here to tell you that I think, despite all that, I still think there's a good film in there, and it's not something that should be missed, especially considering everyone is involved. It's pretty awesome anytime you get to see a Henry Selick film. So if you've seen Wendell and Wild and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.